Contreras. Nick has 1,500 hours of Wall Street and consulting coaching experience, helping over 150 early career professionals break into prestigious careers. A first-generation finance professional and top finance graduate from UT Dallas, Nick rapidly advanced at ORIX Corporation. It's the New York Stock Exchange, it's IX on it, where he supported the investment and management of a $400 million tech portfolio. And now he's here. Now he's dedicated himself to answering the next generation of elite professionals. And of course, I forgot the exact title of your wonderful presentation, but he'll say it. So everybody give applause round for welcoming our wonderful.
Thank you guys, everyone, for having me here today. I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I didn't expect a room so packed, I think especially on a Friday, but you guys are all here and super excited about your careers. Love to get to know all of you. I was fortunate enough to meet Shannon through a introduction through a friend. But a little bit of background on myself. I run a coaching company called CareerXL. And basically what we do is help high-performing students land some of the top jobs in the country. Typically they're around 19 to 20 years old, super competitive jobs, and it's typically these are reserved for Ivy League kids, but regardless of what school you go to, we can help you. Prior to that, I did spend some time investing as part of a team at a company called ORIX. Did growth stage investing for technology companies for about 6 years, and then left to start this business. I'm also originally from Dallas, Texas, so born and raised in Plano, and lived in Dallas for about the last 6-7 years, and then moved to Austin 3 months ago. You guys, congratulations on finding this city. Not a lot of people know about it. It is, I think I traveled everywhere and I looked for the next place to live, but Austin, you guys got some really incredible food here. The art scene, everything is fantastic. So, yes, exactly. No, keep it quiet. I do not tell anyone. I tell people to go to Dallas. I do not talk about Austin. Cool. So I just like to kind of get to know you guys a little bit. What kind of jobs are you guys looking for? Like, maybe we'll start there. Maybe you and the Texas Longhorns?
Yeah. So I was looking for a technical writer, trainer, technical support, customer service.
Okay, cool. And then what interests you about that sort of role?
I have a lot of patience, and I like to use that ability in my favor. So I love instructing with empathy and basically helping that person do their job better. It's just so gratifying for me, and I often have an experience where they would say, well, I talked to someone before, they just did it for me, now I'm calling back because I don't know how to do it myself, and I would take them through 3-4 times if that's what it took for them to be able to do it on their own next time.
Okay, got it. And then you said a technical writer?
Yes.
Okay, got you. And then what was your name?
Katie.
Katie, okay, awesome. And then you in the purple, I think you mentioned something about like a production assistant, something like that. Maybe I'm thinking, you.
Sorry,
what kind of job are you looking for?
I'm honestly not really sure. I took the Certified Production Technician class here to get into manufacturing, but as I talked to employers, I'm not sure if that's something I really want to do. My background is in IT support, help desk, customer service type roles, and I think my strength is in customer service. I can do it, but at some point, there's a level of stress that develops that makes it difficult. So I've got a variety of background. I'm just trying to find the things in that background that can contribute to the next position, and that's kind of where I'm not sure about it.
Okay, got it. Cool. So I guess just curious, like, who is looking for like a very rigorous, like, intense job? Just show of hands. Okay. Maybe one person. And then what about like more of a relaxed job where you know, you can do something that's like relatively enjoyable? Okay, okay, more people are relaxed. What about working remote? Like, is that interesting to anybody, or do you guys like to be around people? Okay, you like remote jobs?
Yes.
Okay. And then what about like flexible schedule? Do you guys want to put in like 40 hours a week, or you kind of want to set your own schedule? Anyone want to set their own schedule?
I think a flexible schedule would be fine.
Okay, people like, so flexible schedule people seem to like the most. Okay, and then curious, how many of you guys are, currently employed right now and looking for a better job? Okay. one
Maybe
person.
I work in a tutoring center.
Okay, you work in the tutoring center?
So I tutor math.
Oh, cool, for ACC.
So it's a place called Mathnasium.
Okay, cool. And then the rest of you guys are looking for jobs?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. And then curious, how long have you guys had like a gap in employment for? Is it more than 3 months, more than 6 months? Let's do more than 3 months. Okay, more than 6 months? Okay, more than a year? Okay, interesting, cool. And so let's maybe start with where you guys are struggling for when it comes to finding the job. How many people are just struggling to get interviews? Okay, most people are struggling to get interviews, so you haven't had interviews. How many of you guys have had interviews before, or at least kind of like 2 to 3 interviews in the like past month or 2? Okay, got it. Cool. And so most people are struggling to get interviews, but it sounds like not a lot of you guys have had interviews. So we can talk about how to get more interviews, and then we can go through some steps in actually excelling in an interview. Maybe we, one of the first, like maybe let's take a step back for a second. One of the most important things, let me ask actually a question. How many of you guys have a specific job or type of job in mind when you guys are looking for work? Specific type of job. Okay, cool. So that's a really good thing. It's a prerequisite to actually getting a job. I can talk a little bit about why. The biggest reason is because you can do research on the type of job and you can tailor your explanation, your story for why you want the job, and it can actually help you get it. So the first thing you're going to need obviously is a resume. I don't know where you guys have gotten your resume. This is probably the most, the thing that people get wrong the most is the type of resume that they use. The cleaner the format and the way you present your experiences, the better it can make you look. And I can show you guys a quick resume template that we use. I can share something like that for you all. Generally, you don't want a lot of colors on your resume. So here's what it looks like, and I can show you what it looks like filled out. Contrary to popular belief, most people actually don't read your resumes. What they're looking for is just limited white space, a clean format, and a nice font face. We have something like that here. This is what we use for banking, recruiting, and consulting recruiting to the top 1% of jobs in the country. Employers love it. Happy to send around something like this for you guys. But what I also find is a lot of people make mistakes when they submit their resumes. For most of you, people aren't going to be quite so picky as they are for these Wall Street careers, but resume is the first thing. So next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the most important thing, and it's going to be maybe a little new to you guys, but it's actually networking for a job. I wanted to stop and ask a quick question of you guys. How many of you guys, where do you guys usually find your jobs that you're interested in? Are you guys applying online? Are you looking at job boards? Are you going to career fairs? All of them? Okay, so how many, you primarily just apply online? Okay,
I'm also incorporating more LinkedIn tools.
Okay.
And I'm just starting to apply those today. I've got a book I read through called Linked.
Okay.
And it was written by one of the people, co-written by one of the people that helped start LinkedIn. So it's got a lot of good information.
Okay, cool.
So, let me finish one more sentence.
Sure.
Because I think in this day and age with the ATS systems that if that's all you're doing is applying via the job board online. In my opinion, from what I'm hearing, from what I see, it's going to be much harder to get that next job. So you got to use strategies like what you can learn from LinkedIn.
Cool. I love the point that was brought up. I think a lot of people the resume matters a lot, but it just matters that you have a good one and it looks relatively good. It's not going to usually get you the interview or the job. If you're just applying online, frankly, you're not going to get, you're not going to get as many jobs. You have to put in some more effort. Typically networking, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But if you are, a lot of misconceptions people have about why they're not getting a job is, oh, my resume is not good enough. I need to fix it. I need to get it in the pass the ATS scanner. Then I'll get an interview. Usually, it's a presentation of your experiences that's the issue. And the other thing is that, again, you're not networking. I can talk a little bit about why that's important. But I want to stop and ask a quick question. How many of you guys have networked before with somebody you don't know online? Yeah, you've reached out to someone cold that you don't know and networked with them. Okay, is the name Leo?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What did you do?
Well, years ago, I went to Metropolitan Breakfast Club, and I went to one of their sessions, and they have a directory. And my head was this big, so I thought I had the cojones, right? So I reached out to the CEO of St. David's, Goodwill, and all those guys. Just sent a simple email, hey, would you be interested in providing 30 minutes of your time, and just so I can talk to you and kind of elicit information for future work and so forth. I got about eight sit-downs, and one was the Goodwill was really ready to give me a job. Didn't want to do nonprofit, but what I learned about those guys and when I sat with them is, first and foremost, I asked them about their background and how they got to their position. And sometimes their background didn't match what they're doing, and they were helped along the way through networking.
Yeah.
The great thing I found was that everybody was willing to help. All you had to do is ask, but you had to humble yourself when you went to those guys, as you're asking for the help. They also had to see the real you. And I got like 3-4 multiple sit-downs. They actually asked me for additional sit-downs.
Okay.
And I've done that, and I've used that because I've never actually applied for a job. Like all my jobs are never.
Okay.
And it pans out.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So yeah, networking is super important. Most people are not adapted to, or when they think about networking, they think about going to different events like you're doing here, and I think this is fantastic. But most of the time, stuff like this, like networking in person or at job fairs is not going to yield the results you want. You just never know, like the people that are coming, are those the specific firms you want to work for. So oftentimes it's a lot easier to go find those firms online and then figure out, speak to the specific people who are hiring. We can talk a little bit about that. If you guys have any questions anyway through, like feel free to just raise your hand and ask a question. But brief introduction to networking. It's going to be one of the most important skills in your job search. There's many reasons why, but the most employable person is not the smartest person. It's the person who takes the most initiative and gets something done. And the best way to do that is to network. Reach out to the firm, connect with the people on the team that you want to work with, and explain to them that you want to work with them and exactly why. Shows enormously high interest in initiative, and when you're doing this, it sets you apart from everyone who is applying online. So incredibly important. When 200 plus candidates are applying for a job, having some sort of relationship with somebody at the firm helps you differentiate yourself. The longer that you have the relationship and the better you presented yourself over the relationship, the higher your odds of converting that into an interview. And obviously relationships in many cases, depending on the job that you're going for, are not going to guarantee you a job. You still have to perform well to the interview, but it's going to get you a hell of a lot more interviews. Just to level set with you guys, it typically takes about, I would be dedicating at least 20 hours a week, maybe 15, 20 hours a week to your job search. Most of that is actually going to be networking. You can do some interview prep. That's obviously going to be more personalized, but most of the work in getting a job is going to be about 15, 20 hours a week. The most exceptional people that I see in my program, we have about 180 kids on the spectrum from sharp and motivated to like, you know, dull and not so motivated. The sharpest people, you know, can get a job within a month. The average person, it takes them about 90 days once they start their job search, because you just have to have that many repetitions before you actually have enough interviews to get a job. And then some people, it may take a little bit longer. But if you have a clear plan, and you know, we'll lay that out for you a little bit here, it should only take about 90 days. And if you're having specific issues, we can talk through that. There's probably something on. So why is networking so effective? So it helps you skip through the initial screening process. This is what the hiring and screening process looks like for almost every firm across North America, unless you're a very boutique mom and pop shop. So you've got the online screening right here up at the top, and you have a less than 1% chance of being hired. There's just like, it's so easy to submit your application. You're competing globally or nationally. You're going to be screened out by the ATS system sometimes by insane criteria. Your GPA, where you went to school, the location, where you live, sometimes your gender, your race, your college GPA, and sometimes it's ATS stuff. And a human being will literally never see your resume. Number two is you're going to be screened by HR personnel. And hopefully, you know, maybe we have some HR personnel in the room, but most of the time, you know, in organizations, these are the least productive people in an organization. They have, you know, history degrees, gender studies degrees. They actually don't have expertise in what they're hiring for. And what I hired actually plenty of people at my company, and we actually wouldn't let HR screen the resumes because they didn't have expertise in the field, and oftentimes we would see good candidates weeded out by accident. So that's a total possibility. You could be getting through the ATS and HR that you're weeding you out. And if you get through HR, the junior members of the team will actually review your resume. And if it's a competitive applicant pool, you just may not get the benefit of the doubt. They may have a lot of people that they're interviewing. I'll stop there. Anybody have questions so far? We're about to touch on why networking is so important.
Question on the resume. I've actually heard from a resume's perspective that you need more white space.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm happy to take a look at your resume, but I don't. Yeah, I wouldn't advise that.
It's bullet points that recruiters want. They don't want paragraphs. They want something they can scan quickly.
Which I have,
Yeah.
points, but I've been continuously told white space between each section.
Okay, cool. I'm happy to take a quick
I
look.
just heard you from Contreras
Yeah.
otherwise, which looked busy to me, but
Yeah.
I'm certainly open and interested in hearing the why and why not.
Okay, cool. No, happy to take a look. Okay, cool. So we talked a little bit about where your resume can get stuck. Why do you do networking? Well, it's because you can skip all this nonsense. All these crazy things can get us disqualified from the recruiting process before we start. We have a good conversation with someone on the recruiting team. We skip that less than 1% chance of being hired. We go to a 5 to 10% chance, right, for every place. And it's not random. We get to have interviews with the places that we want. We get to have interviews with the places that we network. And so that is why we do networking. So how do we even start it? The basic relationship building process is, right, it's great to have an understanding of what type of firms you want to work for, or exactly what field. Then you're going to want to understand a little bit what size companies do I want to work at. If you're not picky, you know, you can have a long list. Typically we encourage building relationships with a select list of 15 firms. You're going to send a cold email, maybe not requesting mentorship, but requesting a conversation. There's something you admire about the person's profile. You'd love to have a conversation with them. We'll schedule an introductory call, prepare for the call, and then we'll have the caller meeting. After we have the caller meeting, we're going to send a follow-up, or we're going to send a thank you email. We'll talk a little bit about that, and then follow up every 8 to 12 weeks. It could be even sooner, and then you should be having approximately a minimum of 3 calls per week. It sounds like a lot, but if you want a job, and you want the job that you want, not just a random job, it's going to take a little bit of work. So this process, it's going to take a little leeway because you're going to build and nurture that relationship, but multiple touch points over a period of months, and then, you know, once they get a better understanding for you and who you are, going to be a lot more likely to hire you. So, identifying people to connect with, and we're going to show you a little bit more. I don't know. Once you've figured out the firms you want to work for, you can identify specific groups on the team that you want to work for. So it does no good for you if you want to work at Facebook, you want to be a software engineer on Facebook, it makes no sense to network with the people on the finance team. So you want to network specifically with the people on the software development team. Great people to connect with, university alumni. They're going to be super receptive to picking up the phone, connections to mutual friends. They can give you warm introductions. And if neither of these apply, you can find a creative reason to reach out. Maybe you grew up in a similar location, maybe you're from Pennsylvania. Maybe you had a similar work experience. You both worked at a community college, or you were both a math tutor. Similar cultural background, similar high school. Maybe you guys both played sports in college. We'll figure out something. So how do we find these people to connect with? So does everyone have a LinkedIn? Okay, LinkedIn is necessary to get a job for the most part. So what you do here is you see number 1 at the very top of the search bar, you type in the job that you want. Okay, number 2, you filter by people. You click that people button, and so it's going to show you all the people that work in that job that you want. You can also add the current companies, and it's going to show you all the people that work in the job you want at that company you want. And then you're going to come here to the third filter and type in school. And it's going to show you all the people who have the job you want at the company that you want that went to your school. These are going to be the best people to network with. And so what do we do from there? Anyone have questions on this part so far? Yes, sir.
If they're in a different city, does that really matter? I mean, obviously you can't get together physically, but you're still able to do it through calls and stuff?
Yes, 90% of networking is going to be over the phone. If you're able to meet someone in the same city, that's incredible. We find that anytime someone meets someone from a networking chat and it's in person, almost 100% chance of an interview. It's a bit lower, maybe 20-30% for phone calls. Okay, cool. So once we have someone's LinkedIn, you don't usually want to use LinkedIn to send them a message. You totally can, but you're going to use an email finder. We can talk a little bit about that. But Apollo.io, that's a great one. Basically, it's a website. You type in your email, and then you can put in anybody's name and where they work, and it's going to give you their work email. And then after we have their work email, we'll send them a nice personalized note. This is a little bit tailored for college students, but what we're basically going to have is a cold email message. So the subject and the first couple of lines are the most important thing. The subject is, you could say experienced production assistant, experienced technical writer, interested in your...
Could you back up to that screen for a moment, please?
This one?
Yes, please. Appreciate it.
Motivated, experienced production assistant, motivated technical writer, interested in working on Google's ad team, something like that. And your message might say something like, hey, hey Bill, my name is Susan, and I'm an experienced technical writer. I've worked here, and here. I was actually reaching out, and then you want to make something personalized to them. Why are you reaching out? You can always find something interesting about somebody's experience if you think hard enough. And you guys have a lot of wisdom and perspective about life. It should be quite easy for you. I noticed you had all these really great jobs, and you're here at Google, and you're doing, you're on their ads team, and I'd love to hear more about. I think it's interesting because of something. Have a specific reason why. You were one of the few people on your team. I saw you were one of the few people on your team to get promoted. I know how hard that is, and you're obviously key leader of the team at this, at Facebook or Google. And then the next paragraph, I'd love to work for you. I'd love to kind of hear more about your career and your story and how you made it to where you are today. I'd actually love to follow in your footsteps. I'd love to be in a similar position, I'd love to work with you or for you, anything of that scope. And then sometimes you can, it's optional, you can list your availability. If you're open to it, I would love to hop on a call with you and hear more about your experiences. I would love to hop on a call with you and see how I can help your team do X, Y, and Z. And list a few times. This is optional. Some people consider it presumptive. Some people also consider it making it easier for people to have a conversation with you. Okay. After this, if they accept, about 1 in 10 people are going to accept your respond to your email. If your emails are excellent, 1 in 10 people. So if you want to have 3 calls a week, 30 emails. That's way better than sending 30 applications. But we advise with every single application you send, you should be sending out 2 emails to people at the firm on the team to work with. That's last minute networking. Normally you want to network beforehand. So you want to send a calendar invite. I'm sure you guys have sent a calendar invite before, hopefully. Clear subject, intro call, Danny, from this school, or Danny, the production assistant, interested in Google. Include your phone number, Zoom, or specific address where you'd like to meet. And then in the meeting notes, hey Nick, thanks for your time. Looking forward to discussing X, Y, and Z. Here's my cell if any issues. Okay. Stop there. I know that's a lot. Any questions, thoughts, concerns?
I just want to share a tool with you guys for finding emails. You may have found your own tools. It's called Hunter, HUNTER.co. If you know the name of the person, obviously the company, so you just put the company name in, and then it will pull up the company, and then in the smaller box you'll put in the person's full name. You'll probably have to be able to see more than just a couple of searches, you'll have to register with them. I think in the nearly 10 years that I have been with, had an account with them, I've received maybe 5 emails. So I don't know if they've changed their ability when somebody else signs up and starts sending you more information, but it's just been an amazing tool to be able to, I'm second connected to that person on LinkedIn. I really want to talk to them. This is the way to be able to do it.
Yeah, is it Hunter.co or IO?
It's maybe it is IO. Maybe it is IO. My apologies.
Yeah. Awesome. And anybody else have a question or thought? I thought I saw a hand raised. No. Good. Okay, cool. So we're gonna have a 10% response rate if we have a great email. Ladies typically have, this is a benefit, 20% response rate. Men like to see those. Men just like to talk to women, and so women you should be looking at about 20% response rate. Men it's typically about 10%. But it's not about just the initial email. You have to follow up. The money is in the follow-ups. Follow-ups are the shortest and easiest email to send. You do not have to go out and find another person to connect with. You've already connected with this person. You've already identified someone. Now you just send a follow-up email if they're not replying. Why are follow-up emails great? It shows initiative, right? It shows we're a self-starter. It shows that we want this. And people also screen for persistence by waiting for a follow-up email. Some people, particularly at the bigger companies, they get lots of these emails all the time. I personally, when I was working at this company, I would never reply on the first email. I want to see how much they want. I'd wait for the 3rd or the 4th one. I would generally say send 3 of them. First follow-up comes within 3 to 7 days, and then each follow-up 7 days after that. You can send as many as you like, but I recommend about 3 to 7, about 3. What do follow-up emails look like? The first one, I just say, hey, just following up here. It sounds lazy, but it's a little funny trick. Many of you guys have worked in the corporate world. When you send someone something and they don't reply, you kindly say, just following up here. And so they will easily mistake your email for a corporate internal email. And you may just, oh, it's already open, I might as well reply to you. Second or third email, you can get a little bit more detailed. Hey, just following up here, thought X, Y, and Z was super interesting. I would really be grateful for any time that you have. And third one, you can get a little bit more detailed, potentially refresh some times that work for you. So I will stop there. That's the big picture on the emails. Now we're going to talk about networking calls and soft skills. Anyone have questions on the emails?
question, but it wasn't about the emails. Nick, those are great examples, and they're mercifully brief, so thank you for sharing those with us. Because executives, they look at 160 emails a day. One for me should be pretty short, so thanks for that.
Yeah.
The next thing is, 5 years ago, when I was in the job search, they were talking about JobScan to beat the bots, so to speak. JobScan was pretty cost effective, but that was a tool that allows you to customize your resume for every job you're going after. Is that still in effect? Is that still like a thing to do?
Yes, some people have that. I personally don't. Like, I think if you have a good resume and you can get someone on the phone, and by the way, in these networking emails, you should be attaching your resumes. People love to look at resumes. They'll click it. I mean, if you attach your resume to the networking email, it's already bypassed everything. And so I don't think it's a huge deal. I personally don't have my students ever do it. They just have one resume that's static. And the networking is really the key piece.
Okay.
You mentioned attaching your resume to essentially a cold call email.
Yeah.
And then with all the bad guys with social engineering, they are including things that they want people to click on, malware, and then there's issues. So I would think that your less email would make it to the intended target with an attachment versus maybe having your resume online in some fashion. I'm sure there's multiple choices for that, and just have a link to the resume. Well, what do you think about what I just said?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely something you can think about. I think people are more open to opening PDFs, which are kind of like simple documents, which don't typically have any, they can't execute functions. Also, what I find is like people love looking at resumes. Like if I left a pile of everyone's resume here in the corner, and nobody was looking, a good chunk of you would probably go through and peek at them. People just like looking at that stuff, and so when you attach it to an email, people will click it oftentimes. But haven't had that issue so far, at least with our.
Okay, good to hear.
Cool. So this is the fun part, is actually having the meeting. So every meeting or networking call you're going to have is in roughly the same format. It's going to be small talk, getting to know each other. Then you'll make the transition, and then you'll do what's called talking shop. And then you'll have the closing. This is going to be like pretty much 80 to 90% of the call. If you're confused or nervous, people are like, if they're picking up the phone, they like what you said, and they're almost like in a mentorship capacity to you, or like this person wants to be on part of my team, they want to work under me. I'd love to pick up the phone. They admire me, or they express that. And so if they're having a call, they're happy to speak with you. But a key thing to keep in mind, the more interested you are, the more interesting you are. And so interested in both the things that you're saying yourself, as well as the things that they're saying. So a couple best practices. Building a personal connection. This is the most important thing of the networking call. So the first 3 to 5 minutes of a call should be focused on building trust before you ever talk about business. If you are able to effectively build trust, they're going to open up everything for you. But if you don't, if you can't build trust, you go straight to business, they're going to be closed off, they're not going to trust you, and that means no referrals or meaningful advice. What's the easiest way to build trust? It is to find a topic of mutual interest and build upon these as naturally as possible. And so there's a couple of strategies that you have to build interest. One is oversharing. So like one thing you never ever want to do is someone says, how are you doing? And you say, good, how are you? That's terrible. This will completely change your life. When someone says, how are you doing? Tell me actually how you're doing, what you did this weekend, what you're doing today, what you're doing this weekend. How am I doing? I'm doing great. I actually was busting my butt this past week, but I had a little downtime to go to ACL here in Austin. I actually didn't go to ACL, but that's an example. It opens up some context. People know you live in Austin. If they're not from Austin, they can ask about Austin. Maybe they have an interest in the ACL or music. They can talk about that. If not, no harm, no foul. You've introduced a way to connect with someone off the bat, and you've utilized that opportunity. So be sure to share with about what you're interested in. The other thing is asking probing locations, where someone is born, or sorry, where someone's from, and then so many questions, and we'll walk through a few, and then eventually get to their interests. So we do a couple exercises at CareerXL One of them is, it's called dry networking. And basically, there'll be one person in the call. Their responsibility is to open the other person up and make them likely want to talk to you. And the other person's responsibility is just don't talk to the other person. Like, do whatever you can. And what we find is you can reliably make somebody break character and talk to you, even if they're told not to talk to you, if you can find one of their interests. They just can't help it, right? It's just, and so the faster the better you are at finding someone's interests, and it's an exercise that takes practice, the more they're gonna open up for you, and then once they find that you're a likable, cool guy, everything else is so much easier. One other thing is I would generally, like sometimes when, I'm this way actually personally, I like to get straight to the point and not talk about business too much. But you can, if business comes up, I would try and avoid that. If they say, how are you doing? You say, how are you doing? They're like, busy with work. Well, what would you be doing instead? Like, what do you wish you were doing instead? Like, what do you do when you're not at work? And then hit that interest first. We need to spend 3 to 5 minutes at least understanding them and trying to get to their interest before we talk about business. Properly answering a call, hey, this is Nick speaking, or hey, Jack, this is Nick, super good to hear from you, how are you doing today? Something like that, polished and pleasant. Basic introductory questions. Where are you based out of? Cool, so are you from Austin? Austin, really? Are you born and raised there, or like where'd you move from? Oh, you moved from Pittsburgh? What made you make the move? Oh, your family, you have brothers and sisters? Oh, well, do you like Austin better than Pittsburgh? Really? What do you like better? And then you can get to know or understand some of the things that they do or don't like. People sometimes like to have this small talk. And a key sign that you're doing well at the small talk is they're oversharing. If they start oversharing and divulging, that means you've hit on a topic they like and continue on it. But one thing I want to make clear is authenticity is key to building trust. If they're talking about something that you're not interested in, find a different interest. It's about finding a mutual interest. Otherwise, you're being inauthentic. And also, not every interest is created equal. It's possible that maybe you find an interest in, in running, and if you spend all your time on that, maybe you missed the bigger interest in pickleball. You're both pickleball fanatics, so it's important to get the big picture. So a question that I like to ask is like, so what do you like? Once we exhaust the location and the history, well, like, what do you like to do for fun here? And they may just like, oh, I like football, I like soccer, I like hiking, and they'll list it all out for you. You can pick your favorite one. Now, a thought there also is you should also think about the things you're most interested in, or that are the most interesting about you. So one of my students, he did a study abroad for a year in Korea, and I tell him, like, figure out a way to drop it in there, any way you can. If they latch on, good. If not, have your second or third interest ready to drop. But keep in mind what makes you interesting, or that you're interested in, and find thoughtful ways to drop that in. So I think I will, let's see, what else? Other things is, here's some really good ones. Making statements versus asking questions. You don't want to just like a constant stream of questions. Make statements. Make assumptions. Okay, you're from New York City. That's incredible. That's one of my favorite cities. I wish I would live there. You must love it there. Then it forces them to defend. Either they did love it or they don't love it. You can hear why. You can also state your opinion. Your favorite team is the Houston Rockets. Well, the Dallas Mavs are going to cream them this year. It creates a little bit of playful banter. They see you as a human. They can build that connection with you. You can light ribbing. This has happened to me before. Oh, you like pickleball? Isn't that the sport for people who can't play tennis? There's different ways you can go about it. And one of my favorite things here is actually, I learned this from one of my managers at the company I used to work with. I call these almost awkward pauses. So nobody wants to have an awkward moment of silence, but these are the most powerful things you can do in a conversation, so almost awkward pauses. So occasionally after statements, you want to leave a 1 to 2 second pause. Why is that? Because people are often like ready to interject. They just need you to stop talking for a second. And so after you make a statement, like, oh, I'm doing really good, I did this, this, and this, how about you? Instead, just say, like, I went, I'm in Austin this weekend, worked really hard, and actually got to see ACL. Let the awkward silence hang for a second. They may interject and ask about it. It takes the pressure off you to hold the conversation. So be comfortable sitting there in that silence. It's gonna. It also gives them opportunity to speak. It makes the conversation feel a lot more two-sided. And also let the statement stand on its own. You don't want to introduce a lot of competing subjects. Oh, I like football, basketball, this. What about you? Just say, I like football and basketball. I'm a huge Steelers fan. And pause. If they have something to say, they'll say. If not, you can wait that half second and say, what about you? This makes the conversation a lot more fluid and alleviate some of the burden. Okay, cool. So I'll stop there. Any questions on like how to build a personal connection with somebody? Okay. We'll do just one more thing, and then we might do some exercise or transition. We might transition to one other topic away from this. Why do you never talk about work in the first 3 to 5 minutes of conversation? This is actually incredibly interesting.
You want to get to know the person, right?
Yes, you want to get to know the person, but what happens?
Build trust.
Yeah, build trust. When you talk about work, it's actually impossible to build a personal connection because the second you talk about work, it consumes the entire conversation. People can talk all day about work, about the things they don't like, about the things they have to do. Work is never ending. And you will find that once you talk about work or school, you cannot leave the subject. And why is this important? One, we don't talk about work in the first 3 to 5 minutes of call. Number two is when we want to transition to talking about work, it's so easy to do. You just casually mention work and then it consumes the conversation. Well, you've been having, I've heard, you've done a lot of really interesting things in Austin. I like to hear you, play pickleball, but outside of pickleball, how's work going? Then they'll start talking about work. Well, that's really interesting. That's actually part of the reason I called. Super interested in this, just for some background, this, and this. You can also do a little bit more of a formal transition, but it's a little bit of a technique or a trick you can use to transition the conversation from small talk to work. So I'll pause there. Any questions? What we'd have after this is, talking about specific aspects of the job. That's a whole different beast, and questions to ask about them, and by rank. Just a couple things you can do. Is thank you emails at the end. So I want to take the time out of your day to thank you for speaking with me. Really enjoy what you enjoyed about the conversation, what you learned. If they offered to refer you for something, lastly, I truly appreciate your offer to pass along my resume. For the recruiting process for this, per your request, I've attached my resume. And then lastly, would it be okay if we stayed in touch? And I can reach back out if I have any more questions or to give you an update on my recruiting process. There's another thing you can do, which is, thanks so much for having a call. X, Y, and Z is super helpful. And then at the end, by chance, is there someone else you think I should speak to? And I could benefit from having a similar conversation like this. Why is that great? Why is that awesome? Because normally you guys are out here sending 10 emails to get one phone call. Now you send one email, they give you an instant referral, and so you just send yourself 10 emails. It's a warm introduction. Another person on the team, you just skyrocket your chance of getting interviewed. So that's a little bit about the networking process. Next, we might get into, we can take it a ton of different directions. Introducing yourself, the most common question asked in interviews. Do you guys know what it is?
Tell me about
yourself.
Yes, okay, we know it. Cool. So there's a structure to it that you should have. And we can talk about that. And so that by far, if you can nail that, it will dramatically accelerate the amount of interviews and offers you have. We can also talk about some other interview questions. We can do some mock networking drills. Where do you guys want to take this?
Question for you, actually. Tell me about yourself.
Tell me about yourself. Cool.
My question for you, I got this other report. How can you tell if a place is legit? I'm getting all these emails from these jobs, and then you click on it, and it's something that's not even relatable.
Yeah, if they're emailing you, it's probably not legit. You should be, probably emailing them unless you applied somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Tell me about yourself. It's going to be a little bit different for you guys, but the first thing I would always say, and it dramatically it makes you seem more graceful, is like, well, first of all, thank you so much for making the time. I know you're busy. It's something I'm super interested in, so I appreciate you carving out the time. It makes you appear a lot more graceful, can dramatically improve the charm in the interview. I think smiling is a big one. We do a lot of work with people on Tell Me About Yourself. One thing I want to for you guys to keep in mind, I'm trying to help you guys as much as possible today, but this actually takes a lot of work. It's not just about the structure of your story, it's about the delivery. And we work with a lot of bright people who have some things or quirks that they have when they're speaking that if they fix, it can dramatically change how they're perceived. So we have a kid who takes, his eyes get really big and he gulps when he speaks or when he doesn't know the answer. Well, why did that happen? Well, he didn't realize his eyes were getting big, he just stopped doing that. But he took these big gulps because he drank coffee and it would make his mouth dry. So mock interviews are really important. You need someone to give you this raw feedback of what's going right or what's wrong. But it's the energy that also matters. So experienced people, I would just say maybe give a little bit of context for where you're from. For junior people, we like to tell them to give your origin story. So I'm actually born and raised in Dallas, Texas. I'm originally from Vietnam. My parents came here for this. I went to school here. For more experienced people, I'd probably give a bigger picture of what you're about, encompassing your experiences. I'm not able to give you guys a super tailored specific example because I imagine there's a lot of varied interests here and experiences, where some of you guys have worked a series of jobs versus one job and all of that stuff. Born and raised in Dallas, Texas, recently moved to Austin a couple months ago. And I actually run a super successful career coaching business where I help 180 kids across the country land the most elite jobs in the country. And then prior to that, I spent 6 years investing for a pretty large company. And then excited to be here. And why? And so in your telling me about yourself, you should always be including the reason that you want to work for the company. Some people will want you to have it as a separate answer, but I think it would be very good. The more questions you can answer up front before, without them having to ask, the more polished and smart you sound. So I really appreciate I did this and this and this, and the reason I'm here is because Facebook or this firm is actually one of my top firms. I love what you did with X, Y, and Z. I have some prior experience with it, but overall really excited to be here. And then at the end, what I like to do is add a little personality. And then outside of all this fun stuff, I love to play pickleball. I love to swim, and I got a black pug named Charlie. And so what we're constantly trying to do is insert opportunities to go personal. And in an interview, it's a little bit different because we can't necessarily start personal. If you can, and if you can start with that, how you're doing and all that stuff, that's great. Sometimes people like to get straight in and tell me about yourself. But at the end, you'll always want to incorporate your interests. And sometimes people will find that they're less interested about your experience. They want to hear about your interests because it's interesting to them. And then once they find you're interesting and likable, then they'll shift and pivot over to your job qualifications. Any questions, thoughts there?
It just made me think of, I recently went to a recruiters meetup and found that 4 of them were in bands.
In bands?
Yeah, very Austin. Yeah.
Right, yes, right. And if you're in a band, you play music or anything like that, and you also think about your audience here in Austin, that's probably a pretty big deal. It's an easy way to connect with someone. And then, if you have a follow-up call with them, or it's a networking type of thing, you can, now you know what to invite them to, right? There's a live music show here. You want to, grab coffee, do whatever. So that stuff is all really important. So the other thing I think you guys might be, have to work with is, how are we on time, by the way?
Oh, you've got about 15 minutes or so?
Okay, 15 minutes.
Yeah. Since we started a little bit late. Sorry, guys.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, I'm late for it. Okay, explaining not being employed, job gaps. I actually maybe this is exciting to you guys, I don't know if you believe me, but the easiest, so there are two types of people that come to me, is people who didn't break into the lead career out of college and they have a job and they want to upgrade to another one, and then people who didn't get the job out of college and they don't have a job and they want to get the job. It's actually a lot easier to place, in my opinion, people who are unemployed than employed. Is that shocking to people? Yeah, why is that? Why is that? You guys have more time. You have all the time in the world. Imagine working a 9 to 5, driving an hour to work, 9 to 5, and then driving an hour back. You have time to shower, you have time to eat, you don't have time to network like this. So you guys can put in that extra effort. It's so much easier because you have all the time in the world to learn the behaviorals, learn the technicals, to shoot out the emails. So you have a huge advantage.
I was gonna say, that's one of the reasons sometimes those bridge jobs are bad, because you might get a bridge job, but now it diminishes your time to network and follow up. I'm a guy that puts 100% effort to what I'm doing, so if I get a bridge job, I'm so focused on that job that it gives me a little time to just look for other opportunities.
Yeah.
And the unemployment, unfortunately, but it does give me all that time to push the envelope and try different things.
Yes, no, absolutely. So there's different ways you can explain the job gap. It's going to be very tailored to each of you, and happy to like kind of talk through or noodle. Maybe we could do something else like this where we do it more like a workshop style. But what I would also say is it's all about framing, how you frame your experience. We had a kid from UT Austin. He took a year gap because he thought he wanted to do law. And that's actually a great thing to do, is take a gap year and go travel. It's very looked upon very favorably. We helped him explain that and say that his true passion is for finance. Actually sold really well in interviews. He got something quite quickly. But that's something you'll also have to think through about why you have it. Some people won't care, frankly. If you're networking, you're like really busy, you can just give like an authentic, real reason. Like, I didn't like my old job, want to take some time off and like collect myself, think about what I really want to do. And then throw in some work in there, and then I realized I wanted to be a technical writer, and so wanted to really reskill and make this pivot. And so I rolled in this, I did this, and I networked actually with a bunch of people, and I realized this is one of my top firms. And then I've also done this and this and this. So we want to pivot and show that we've been working, how we've been building up our skill set. So frame it less of I've been unemployed and more I was making a transition. I was recollecting myself, taking a more thoughtful approach, and building up my skill for this new career path that I want to go in life. Okay. I'm actually a little bit late for like a coaching call for one of my students, but I'll save a little bit of time here. How else can I be helpful for you? We can obviously do another workshop in a different way. We work on behaviorals, we work on networking, we work on your story. We can also give you guys like some contact information if you guys want to reach me.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But what's the best way?
Well, you had a slide earlier with your contact information.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and put that up.
Do you have the slides, or are you planning to send with the slides?
I will get the slides from him because of all those wonderful things that he had about the resume and the outreach.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
So name is Nick Contreras. You can find me anywhere. Nick at CareerXL.com. I also run a pretty large social media channel on both TikTok and Instagram. You can find me there. I don't imagine you guys use TikTok. Maybe you're more in the Instagram phase. Yeah, stopping using Facebook. But if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer. But we'll have to get going shortly.